Imagine a prison so overcrowded that 5,000 men are forced to live in a space designed for 800. A place where there is only one guard for every 400 inmates. A place where the government has effectively surrendered control, and the inmates themselves have become the law. This is Manila City Jail in the Philippines, one of the most overcrowded prisons on the planet. And it didn't become this way by accident. It is the direct result of a brutal policy that changed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people forever. In 2016, President Rodrigo Duterte launched his infamous war on drugs. What began as a promise to clean up the streets quickly turned into one of the most violent anti-drug campaigns in modern history. Official numbers show that more than 6,000 people were killed in the first few years alone. But the real impact was felt inside the prisons. The prison population exploded from around 95,000 to over 165,000 in just 6 years. The system was never built to handle this. It simply collapsed. With almost no guards left to maintain order, the authorities made a quiet, desperate decision. They handed entire dormitories over to the inmates. Today, Manila City Jail is not run by the state. It is run by gangs. Two of the most powerful gangs inside these walls are Bahala Na and Sputnik. Each controls its own territory with military-like discipline. They have their own elected leaders called millionaires, chosen through popular vote by the inmates themselves. These leaders enforce a strict code of honor that every member must follow. No killing fellow gang members. No stealing another man's wife. No betraying the group. Those who break the code often disappear without a trace. In a prison with almost no guards, the gangs have become judge, jury, and executioner. Life inside these gang-controlled dormitories is harsh but strangely organized. Inmates wake up at dawn, line up for head count, then begin their daily routines. Some cook on small makeshift stoves using whatever ingredients they can buy or receive from visitors. Others work in small shops they have built inside the prison, repairing phones, making furniture, even running barber shops. The gangs collect taxes from these businesses and use the money to buy food, medicine, and protection for their members. But not every inmate belongs to a gang. There is a separate sector known as Corna, home to those who refuse to join any group. In Corna, inmates have built small gardens, bakeries, and even internet access points using scrap materials and sheer determination. They have more personal freedom than gang members, but they also have far less protection. Fights break out often. Theft is common. They sleep on cardboard boxes on the concrete floor and wait in long, exhausting lines just to make a 3-minute phone call to their families. In Corna, survival is quieter but no less brutal. Despite the extreme conditions, human stories of resilience, faith, and unexpected humanity continue to emerge from behind these walls. One man is serving 30 to 40 years for murder. When he first arrived, he was filled with rage and despair. But over time, something changed. Every morning he wakes up before the others, sits on his thin mattress and opens his worn Bible. He reads quietly, sometimes for hours. "In here," he says with a calm that surprises everyone who meets him, "I finally learned how to listen to God. Outside, I was too busy chasing money and power to hear anything. Prison gave me silence. And in that silence I found peace." For this man, the prison walls became the place where he finally discovered the faith he had ignored his entire life. Another inmate spent years stealing cars, over 100 vehicles in total. He was a professional thief, proud of his skills. Now, inside Manila City Jail, he uses those same hands to fix motorcycles for guards and other prisoners. He charges small fees that help him buy extra food and soap. When asked what happiness means to him after all these years behind bars, he answers without a second of hesitation: freedom. Real freedom. The kind you only understand when it's taken away from you. I used to think freedom was having money and fast cars. Now I know freedom is waking up and choosing how to live your day. In here I have very little, but I have that choice. And that is more than I ever had outside. Then there is the story of a young man who was barely 20 years old when he arrived. He had stabbed someone in self-defense during a fight on the streets. His family never visited. No letters came. No one was waiting for him on the outside. He was completely alone. But in the middle of this loneliness, an older gang member, a man in his 50s serving a life sentence, took him under his wing. He became what the young man calls his foster father. He taught him how to stay safe, how to earn respect, how to keep his dignity even when everything around him tried to take it away. "He saved my life," the young man says quietly. "Not just my body but my soul. In the worst place on earth I found a father. In the strangest of circumstances, family was created where none existed before." Perhaps the most shocking and thought-provoking story belongs to an Australian man who was once a successful millionaire. He built a thriving business, lived in a beautiful house, drove expensive cars and traveled the world. But he made a terrible mistake. He became involved in a plan to smuggle 100 kilograms of cocaine into Australia. When things went wrong, he fled the country. For 2 years he lived as a fugitive, moving from place to place, always looking over his shoulder. Eventually he was caught in the Philippines and sentenced to prison. Today he sits in a cell smaller than most bathrooms back home. And yet, when you speak to him, he says something that stops you in your tracks. I am happier now than I have ever been in my life. He explains that the stress of his old life, the constant pressure to make more money, the fear of losing everything, the emptiness of chasing success was its own kind of prison. Prison taught me the value of freedom, he says. Real freedom. Not the freedom to buy whatever I want, but the freedom to be at peace with who I am. Crime is never the answer to money problems. I learned that the hard way. These are not isolated stories. They represent something deeper that happens when human beings are pushed to the absolute limit. Inside Manila City Jail, you will also find a strong and respected LGBTQ+ community. Far from being shunned or attacked, they are protected by both gang members and non-affiliated inmates alike. They form relationships, they express themselves freely, and they are given space to live with dignity. In a place built on violence and survival, love and acceptance still find a way to exist. One member of this community told us, "Outside people judged us every day. And here we are judged by our character, not by who we love. For the first time in my life, I feel safe being myself." Daily life inside Manila City Jail is a strange mixture of brutality and creativity. Inmates wake up at 5 in the morning for head count. They stand in long lines for food that is often barely enough to survive on. Many cook their own meals on small stoves they have built from scrap metal and wood. Some run small businesses repairing electronics, making handicrafts, even growing vegetables in tiny garden patches. Others spend their days exercising in the small open areas, playing basketball, or simply talking with friends. At night, the dormitories become incredibly cramped. 9 to 20 men share spaces meant for 4. They sleep on cardboard, on benches, even on the floor. Yet somehow, in the middle of this suffering, moments of beauty appear. You will see men sharing food with those who have nothing. You will hear laughter echoing through the corridors. You will witness quiet acts of kindness that remind you that even in the darkest places, the light of humanity refuses to go out. The gangs themselves have created a form of rough justice that keeps order better than the official system ever could. Disputes are settled through mediation by the mayores. Punishments are swift and severe for those who break the code. But there is also a surprising sense of community. Gang members look after each other's families on the outside when possible. They share resources. They protect the weak within their own groups. It is not a perfect system, far from it, but it is a system that has emerged from necessity, and it works in ways the government never could. All of this raises profound questions about freedom, happiness, and what it really means to be human. These men have taught us that true freedom is not about having money, power, or even physical liberty. True freedom is a state of mind. It is the ability to find peace even when everything around you is chaos. It is the choice to remain kind when the world has been cruel. It is the decision to keep hoping when hope seems impossible. Many people walking free on the streets today are more imprisoned than anyone inside Manila City Jail. They are trapped by fear, by addiction, by toxic relationships, by the endless pursuit of wealth and status that never brings satisfaction. They live in invisible prisons of their own, making prisons with no bars but with walls just as thick. The men in this documentary have shown us that it is possible to find freedom even in the most hopeless circumstances. And that is a lesson the entire world needs to hear. Manila City Jail is a place the world has tried to forget. But inside its walls, something extraordinary is happening. Humanity is refusing to die. Where gangs rule with iron fists, codes of honor and unexpected compassion still exist. Where overcrowding and neglect should have broken these men completely, they have instead revealed the incredible strength and resilience of the human spirit. The greatest risk in life is not ending up behind bars. The greatest risk is living your entire life in a prison of your own making while believing you are free. This is the story of Manila City Jail. It is a story of survival against impossible odds. It is a story of faith found in darkness, of family created in the unlikeliest of places, and of the quiet revolution that occurs when people are pushed to the very edge of existence and still choose to remain human. Thank you for watching until the end. If this story moved you, if it made you think, if it changed the way you see freedom and happiness, then please like this video, subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell. We will continue bringing you raw, honest, and unforgettable documentaries from the places the world doesn't want you to see. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and remember the real prison is often the one we cannot see.